Welcome back to the Bryan Devore Connection. I'm your host, Bryan Devore. One of the things that happens when you are going through divorce is you learn all kinds of things you had no idea about, which you wouldn't have to know about because you hadn't gone through a divorce before. And I do have firsthand experience with this. When you think about divorce, you think, I have to hire an attorney, and that's all you really think about. But there's a whole host of other professionals who can really assist you when you're going through a divorce. So here to talk to us today about one of those aspects is my friend Jen Segura with West Coast Family Mediation. Jen, how are you doing today?
Good, great. Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. So we've done this before,
yes.
But we're going to do this a little more of an expanded format here so people can really understand more about what it is you do, how you started, and why people even want to do something called mediation.
Absolutely,
So
absolutely.
Tell us about West Coast.
West Coast now has become West Coast, but it actually started off as a company called San Diego Family Mediation Center. I opened that firm in 2008, and it was kind of a sole proprietor, got out of law school, had gone into law school loving family law, realized along the way that litigation was not the way I wanted to spend my life, and kind of shifted gears, decided mediation was something I was really interested in, became trained as a mediator and loved it. And so immediately started doing mediation rather than staying in litigation. From law school, I did a lot of just internships and stuff with law firms, and that's where I realized that wasn't what I wanted to do. And then as I kind of started to organically grow, things just got bigger and bigger, and so we kind of expanded into something called California Family Mediation Center up in Orange County. And my partner, Amanda Singer, then we decided after the pandemic and realizing, wow, we can do all this stuff online. We don't need to do it with brick and mortar and all these things. And we kind of shifted and became West Coast Family Mediation Center. All over. So now we are working actually throughout all of California for people because so many people like doing it on Zoom.
Yeah.
And so it's turned into a business that really all you need is a computer and access to the courts, and you're good. So getting into this field, it definitely gives you that feeling that you're actually helping people. And now when you went through your process, did you go through a mediator as well?
I did, yeah.
Yeah. And I have to imagine it was a lot more enjoyable than going through litigation.
It's certainly less confrontational.
Yeah.
What I've seen, and I've met a lot of divorce attorneys and mediators as well, and the outcomes are generally better.
Yeah.
It's more of a collaborative situation.
Yeah.
Better impact on the children generally. So there's just a whole host of reasons, why it's better, in my opinion.
Absolutely.
From your perspective, what do you see?
Definitely less contentious. And there are some mediators and, attorneys who mediate that would kind of put mediation into almost like a settlement conference type of process where they're still very much following the litigation overall kind of the rules and strategies that you would institute in a litigated divorce. But for us, us being Amanda, my partner, and I, when we came into this, we really came into it from wanting to create an entirely different process. So we don't want it to feel like a court process. We don't want it to feel like, we're still kind of litigating, but we're doing it in a room instead of in front of a judge. So we have taken everything from, our initial consultation through the final divorce decree and made everything as different as we can and made it as friendly and as warm and as enjoyable
as it can be.
It can be. I think there's been so many times that we've had, one or the other call or email before an appointment and say, I'm so nervous. I just know I might cry through the whole thing. I don't know, if I'm ready for this. And I said, don't worry, it'll be okay. It'll be okay. And once we get into the session, by the end of it, we're laughing. There's no tears. People realize that they can let their guards down. It's not something that they have to be so worked up and afraid, because we make the process like this, a conversation.
Right.
It's not something that has to be antagonistic or scary. Overall, there's gonna be fear, right? Because you're changing everything that you know about your life.
Yeah, for sure.
But we're doing it in baby steps. We are informing our clients so they know what to expect before we do it. We're really trying to give them, spoonfuls as we go instead of just, here you go, here's what we're doing, and terrify them from the beginning.
Right. And you want that more positive outcome if you possibly can.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, even with mediation, people can still have a consulting attorney if they want to, or review the MSA, the agreement if they want to.
Yes.
But generally speaking, the details are hammered out in the mediation process, and the things you bring up are, things like custody and the money and so forth.
Yeah.
And the benefit that I see of mediation is it's agreed upon between the parties.
Absolutely.
It's not a judge saying this is what you're going to do.
Exactly.
And so all bets are off. You can do whatever you want to in mediation. Be as creative as you want to in mediation. You're not handcuffed, by the law. It has to be a certain way.
Absolutely. And a big part of that kind of that you hit on is you can do whatever you want to do. So especially right now with house prices out of control, whether you're trying to buy one or rent one or whatever you're doing, a lot of people, they can't afford to not stay in the same house, or they can't afford for both of them to get new houses. And so for a couple that has been, married for 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, and they have a house where their mortgage is $2,500 a month, like letting go of that is insanity right now, right? Difficult. And so they instead will come up with creative ways and say, okay, well, it doesn't make sense for, mom and the kids to leave right now, so we're going to leave you in the house, and dad will go get another place, but we'll jointly own the home for X amount of years, or, because oftentimes whoever's staying in the house can't afford to buy the other person out right away. But that's okay. Like, as long as you guys agree to it and you're both comfortable with it. Of course, there's language that's put into the agreement to protect that person. In the event one of them's like, hey, I have to take my money out of the house, because of course we're in San Diego, and oftentimes a ton of the wealth of the family is in the house.
Yeah, for sure.
But for the most part, it just isn't making sense right now for people to sell their homes unless, they're both wanting to move on and get out of the area or something. But allowing them to say, no, I trust him or I trust her. And just because we're going through a divorce doesn't mean we're not a family unit. Doesn't mean we can't still help each other and support each other. And so letting them make these different types of divorces that meets their needs is important. And, and no fault of attorneys themselves, of course, having these things tied together as time goes on, it's risky. It is. You can't get around the fact that co-owning a home with somebody that you have divorced from, there can be risks involved, but that has to be outweighed by, well, what is their lifestyle going to look like if they try and both move out of this house?
Right. And one thing I know that some people say was, well, it's a contentious situation, so we can't do mediation. We have to hire attorneys. But I know that's not the case. And I've heard of lots of situations where it is a contentious situation, and mediation really is the best way to go.
Yeah.
One of the benefits I like about your firm, too, is Amanda is a certified divorce financial analyst, correct?
Oh, so am I.
And you are as well. Okay.
Yeah, we both are.
And so certified divorce, again, another industry I didn't know existed when I was going through my divorce.
Yeah.
It's the people who can really help deal in the financial aspects of the divorce.
Absolutely.
So you're bringing in a whole other level of experience and expertise versus maybe another mediator might have. So I like that a lot.
For sure. And and we both decided to do that training for the designation of the certified divorce financial analyst because of all the things that it opened up our minds to, and all the different creative ideas and ways that you can work with jointly owning a home or doing other things that you just don't think about. It's one of those things that you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
And so you take that training and you're like, wow, like here's a whole new toolkit to bring with me into my mediations to help them. And now we wouldn't wear both hats in the mediation room. Like we wouldn't be their CDFA and be their mediator, but just having the experience, it helps us to know, well, here are the options. And hey, if you want to get deeper into some of these financial issues, we then would set them up with someone who does only CDFA work, so that they can go deeper in some of the issues. But it has helped us so much just to have the knowledge and the experience to say, hey, wait, are we thinking this through? Like, what about, the tax ramifications of doing this or that? And trying to help them. I mean, right now, pulling money out of a 401k, for example, and being able to do that pursuant to a divorce without incurring a penalty. A lot of people have no idea that you can do that.
Yeah.
And so offering them that ability to say, hey, yes, you have $30,000 in debt. You guys can't go forward with that. Let's find a way to get that paid off.
Right.
So you can both start fresh without any debt.
No, fantastic. So lots of good information. Thank you so much for sharing all of it. Your information's on the screen, so people can call you,
Perfect.
email you. They can send look at your website and so forth and learn all about West Coast Family Mediation. All the
Yes.
wonderful services you can offer people who unfortunately are going through this time in their lives.
Absolutely.
Jen, thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
My pleasure. Thank you.